Okay, we're back. So yesterday we talked a little bit about the crystal ball, what you are. We talked about the mud, what you believe about yourself or what you think, or the dialogue that takes place in the mind. And one thing I want to say more about that is how absolutely insanely pervasive this mud really is. We don't realize that every single word that comes out of our mouth is essentially based on some belief, based on something that we think is true about ourselves. And that, of course, comes from the mud. So it's everywhere. It's in your relationship to money. It's in your relationship to your spouse, your significant other. It's in your relationship to your family, to people at work. Everything about the way you behave in life and show up in life comes right back to meaning about yourself. And that is, of course, in the mud. So it's everywhere. Going on to the purpose of this video, yesterday I told you that I would bring you to the experience of your own perfection, bring you to the experience that you are the crystal ball, because that's what you actually are, all right? Now, did you see what I just said there? Bring you to the experience. The irony of that statement is I can't bring you anywhere. You don't go anywhere. You don't actually let go of anything. You don't actually force anything. You already are there. That's the irony. It's kind of a paradox when you look at it. The question, how do I get to the experience of myself? The answer lies in the question. The question's broken. The question doesn't work anymore. The question is part of the mud. The question, how do I get there, is compensating. Because the more you find ways to figure out to get somewhere, you think that there is somewhere to get, the more you're actually compensating for something that's not real in the first place. So that first bit of mud that came onto that crystal ball was made up. It wasn't real. But we compensated for it. And ever since then, it's been compensating and compensating, trying to get back to this perfect balance, this perfectly spherical, clear crystal ball. So how do you get there? How do you get to the crystal ball? You don't. You are the crystal ball. That's the good news. It's also kind of uncomfortable. Usually people, when they hear that, there could be any kind of reaction, but at first it's uncomfortable because I'm telling you there's nothing that you can actually do to improve you. But there's nothing you can do to improve you because you're perfect. So it's actually really good news. Now, there is something about getting the experience. Like I said yesterday, you may not be experiencing yourself as the crystal ball. The first thing to do is stop asking the question, how do I get there? And stop worrying about how to get there. And stop obsessing over future goals. That there's something that's going to happen in the future that's actually going to make the difference now, because that's never going to be the case. There's never anything that's ever going to ever take place in the future that will make a difference now. The difference for the moment always takes place in the moment, right? So the first thing you do is you no longer ask the question, why am I not fulfilled? What's wrong with me? How do I get there? Will I get there someday? Who do I need to be in order to get there? All of those questions are compensating questions. Now, there's something else that you can actually do. There is actual action that you can take to really drop down a sledgehammer on that mud and to really break it apart. And as you can imagine, that can be an uncomfortable thing. And it's also an extremely, extremely powerful and magical thing if you're willing to do it. And I'm going to actually share that with you in the next video. It's the actual what you can actually do, because there is something you can do. There's actual action you can take to allow some of that mud to break off, however you want to say it. It's all made up visual anyways, but to allow that mud to break off, to allow it to fall to pieces, there is something you can do. And I'm going to show you that in the next video. Thanks for watching.